Welcome to Pilot Season, the program that looks at the first episode of television programs. Every week, our panel of experts reviews both comedy and drama shows. If you're a fan of classic comedies such as Gilligan's Island, Married with Children, and The Honeymooners, or newer classics such as Lost, The Sopranos, The X-Files, and Breaking Bad, this is the place. Every Tuesday at 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 Eastern, this program is simulcasted on both Facebook and YouTube, which allows the viewers to be a part of the fun. And now, here are your hosts of Pilot Season. Hello, and welcome to an all-new episode of Pilot Season. I am one of your hosts, Kinte, all the way live from Los Angeles, California, and I'm so happy to be here. I am joined by my wonderful and beautiful and talented co-host. And we're going to start off with the ladies first. We have Tori, who gets all the glory.
What's up? What's up? How are you?
Excellent.
Good.
We have Renee, who is just wonderful every day.
Oh, yeah. Hi, everyone.
And we have Jen, who always wins.
I'm really super glad you didn't say lives in a pig pen, because that's where I thought you were going. I'm so excited to be in this episode, guys. You know what? I didn't just watch this episode once. I actually watched it twice in preparation because this is my favorite pilot. So super excited.
All right.
Yay.
And last but definitely not least, Olaf, who never takes a day off.
There you go. That's right. It's like work every day. It's like this should be a good show tonight because the Sopranos is that's a good episode. Should be fun.
All right. So before we get into our show, the name of the show is called The Sopranos. So the question is, what is your singing voices? We'll start off with you, Renee. Are you a soprano or are you an alto?
Yes and yes. Depending on who I'm singing with.
If you sing with me, what are you?
Everything.
What about Tori? What about you, Tori? What is your singing voice?
What?
What would your singing voice be? Soprano, alto, baritone?
Oh, I'm alto.
Alto?
Yeah, all the way. Yep.
Okay. And what about you, Jen? What would your singing voice be?
Generally off key, I think.
We're the same. We're the same, actually. And what about you, Olaf?
I think for the most part, I'm baritone. Sometimes alto. Every once in a while, soprano.
I guess it depends if you're kicked in the balls, right?
Yeah, then I sound like this.
Sound like a truck driver.
Despite, it's funny. Everybody made this same mistake when the show was announced. They thought it was about some singers. Even the cast.
Really?
The cast thought that when they got the scripts, they were like, "Oh, this is about some opera singers or something,"
But
no.
then they write it. They're like, "Oh, no, completely off key."
I'll give a little background about the show. The show was written. This episode was written and directed by David Chase, who is the creator of the series. David Chase, fantastic writer, had been around for quite a while. He, I believe, he worked on Picket Fences. Was the show he did, was very different, and I want to say Matlock or one of those type of shows. Someone can correct me in the chat. Uh, so he actually wanted always to get into film. So he wrote The Sopranos because this is based on his relationship with his mother. His mother is in fact the mother from the show, not the actress, but his mother. He basically all of her dialogue is stuff that his actual mother says. So his wife gave him the idea, you should do a show about you and your mother. And so the first idea was going to be something about a TV producer and his mother, but he felt like, no, that's kind of weak. So he changed it to a mafia boss and his mother. And so that's what the basis of the show is really about him and his mom. And he tried to get it made into a film, and then it went to Fox for it to be on a TV show. So this show came close to being on Fox. Fox had it, but then they let it go, and then it went to HBO, and there you have it. So the star of the show is the late great James Gandolfini, who y'all gonna laugh at this. So James Gandolfini, who plays Tony Soprano,
Mhm.
I was aware of him because he was a character actor in a bunch of stuff before.
Yeah.
Don't laugh at me. I thought he was Russian because I didn't know his name, right? And he played a Russian. He played a Russian in this Charlie Sheen movie, Terminal Velocity.
Oh yeah.
And
Yeah.
It's so funny when you look at it now. The accent was terrible, but
Yeah.
as a young person, it was like I was like, "Oh, that's a perfect Russian accent." I thought the guy was a Russian. So when the show was announced and they were showing the cast, and I saw James Gandolfini, which I didn't know his name, and I'm like, "Why they got a Russian guy playing the mafia guy?"
It's Russian mafia.
That's
Then
funny.
I found out that no, he's in fact very much Italian. And
And you know what though? I've seen him in other stuff, and he plays a mafia guy. Like he's in like 4 different things that I've seen him in.
Yeah.
well,
So
he comes off as a mafia guy when he's not playing a mafia guy. He could
yeah.
be
He
like a
does.
school. He could be a
No matter
school
what.
teacher. He could be a school a third grade teacher, and he seems like a mafia guy, And,
With the suit and everything.
Yeah.
and the funny thing is, he never wanted to play a mafia guy ever because he
Oh
didn't
my
want to get
God.
typecast.
Yeah.
Oh wow,
part was
that
so
turned
good.
out really good for him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, worked quite well for him. Yes, it did.
Mhm.
Yeah, because he's really like a hippie type guy. He was like a real hippie type dude, a very nice guy.
Yeah,
Uh,
in all of his interviews, he's so not understated. What's the word I'm looking for? He's so easy and casual and actually
Down to
really
earth.
nice. Yeah, he's such the polar opposite from the character that he even plays in the pilot of Sopranos that it's almost hard to reconcile. Like it just gives you this glimpse into what an actual fabulous actor he is because he just slips into that skin so well.
yeah, he's a fantastic actor, and the perfect choice. I think they said they wanted somebody that was more um, recognizable or something. I think they wanted Ray Liotta, and but
Oh
Ray Liotta
gosh.
didn't want to. Ray Liotta didn't want to do it. So
Oh, I'm
that's
so glad they didn't. I'm so glad they didn't go with him.
yeah. I mean,
I
Ray
mean,
Liotta's
no
a
offense to
fantastic
Ray
actor.
Liotta. Yeah,
Right.
no offense to Ray Liotta. I just feel like the whole series would have been different, right?
Would have been
Oh,
different. Yeah.
much
Yeah.
different. So they wanted Ray Liotta. They wanted other more famous Italian actors, and but when they saw him, they knew he was the guy,
Yeah.
and you can see why. I mean, the guy oozes just charisma, and I mean, I don't know if there's a better casted character I don't know if a show's ever been has a better. I hear TV in someone's background.
Yeah, sorry, I'm sorry.
Uh,
I can stop it. Hold on.
yeah. So, but I don't know if I've ever seen someone who's more perfectly cast than James Gandolfini. I mean, he's definitely in the top of perfectly casted characters. So, before we get in deep into the show, we got to talk about the iconic intro to the show.
Oh
Uh,
yeah.
Oh
the,
yeah.
I remember when I was just telling Olaf before the show, when I saw this intro the first time, and that song starts kicking in, woke up this morning,
Hmm.
and and I thought this was the coolest. Just the intro was like, what a
Set up
cool
the show.
intro. Yeah, it was like the intro is, and it never gets tiring. Like I've seen it
No.
100 million times, and I've never. It's one of the few intros that I don't skip. You
Yeah,
know,
yeah.
because it's like it's something about it gets you pumped up for the
Mhm.
episode. Like
Yeah.
it's just something about that song when it kicks in.
Westworld does that too.
Yeah. I gotta.
Westworld.
I don't remember the intro for Westworld.
They
But,
they show how they could put the people together and
I gotta. I mean, I saw it. I saw the first season, but I gotta remember that. But no, but yeah, it's and then so a little behind the scenes story about the theme song. So the theme song. Okay, so David Chase.
Wait,
Uh,
wait, 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 wait. Can I say one thing real quick, just before I
Sure.
forget, because I know I'll forget. So in that opening, show that picture again of the opening
Mhm.
where you had that. Okay, so one of the reasons that I always loved this is because it is absolutely what The Sopranos is all about, which is oftentimes smoke and mirrors. Everything is smoke and mirrors, and I love that that picture that you just had up, where it's basically like him sort of in the mirror with the smoke coming up from his cigar, because it's just the perfect metaphor for what The Sopranos is always all about. So sorry, I just had to say that.
Oh
Huh.
no, great. That was great.
That's pretty good.
Yeah. Um. Okay, so they shot the whole first season before they shot the intro. So
Oh
now it's
wow.
getting close to the time where they needed to have the opening. And what happened was they didn't have a theme song.
Oh no.
And David Chase was in his car driving, and he was listening to some radio station in New York, and that song popped on. And it was the song was not like a huge hit song. He didn't even find out who sung it or anything. But the minute he heard it, he knew that was the thing. So he had to contact the radio station and said, around this time, you played this song, and they told him what the song was. And the song is by a group called Alabama 3. The funny thing about Alabama 3 is they're not from Alabama. They're a British rock group.
Oh my gosh.
That's funny.
And so they secured the rights to it, right? And I saw this interview because there's this great podcast I think it's called Talking Sopranos with Michael Imperioli and Tony Sirico. I think that's how you say his name, or Sharippa, or not Tony Sharippa, Steven Sharippa. Sorry. And he interviewed the lead for Alabama 3, and so he talked about the origin of the song. And the song is about a real life story that happened in England, where a woman who was being abused by her husband woke up one morning, got herself a shotgun, and blew her abuser away. And that's what the song is talking about.
Wow. Okay.
So, which is interesting, is it's a song about a woman getting revenge on her abusive husband, but it becomes the theme
It goes
song of
in
an
line with the
abusive
show.
It becomes a
Yeah.
theme song of an abusive husband, which is
Yeah.
Wow.
The irony.
and so the group, the guy from Alabama 3 said in this interview that they really had they sold the rights or whatever to be on the show, but they said it was on some cable show, and at the time cable shows weren't that big of a deal. and
Uh-huh.
they really didn't. They were in England, and the show hadn't premiered in England, so they didn't really know what it was. And they started noticing that when they would do their shows, they got so much more, uh, like because they weren't like a huge group. So many people would come to see their shows and stuff, and so then they were like, they thought it was kind of strange. So they came out to America. This was after the show had already premiered, and they saw billboards everywhere of The Sopranos, and that's when they realized this is like a big deal. Like, they had no idea for a year that their show was their song was connected
Oh, that's
to
so cool.
yeah. So, and they said that it was a love hate at first because that they had done that song a couple of years earlier. They enjoyed the fame they got from it, and then they got to a point where it was like, okay, they had to perform it every time, and and then they were so connected to the show. But he said it was around the time James Gandolfini passed away where they thought of they thought about it again, and like they realized how much of an honor it was to have it connected to such a great show. So now
Oh,
they play it more with pride now.
Hmm.
Then I can understand getting tired of a song, that they didn't even think is one of their better songs. I've heard some of their other songs. It is their, but
oh God, that's funny.
not to say that I've heard their stuff wasn't bad, but that's really good. So, but I wanted to throw that in there a little bit about the theme song and the
That's
origin.
awesome.
Yeah, that is. That's cool.
Mhm.
Yeah. So, if you want more information like that, check out the Talking Sopranos podcast, which ran for about 2 years, and they had everybody from the show, everybody besides no Joe Pontiano. Is that how you say his name?
Mm.
Pontiano. The one Joey Pants. He didn't do it. And the gay mafia guy didn't do it. I don't know if you guys remember that storyline. And I think I'm talking about the people who are alive. Obviously, they can't have the dead people. Do
Are you sure?
That's a different show. That's The Walking Dead.
right.
We have a podcast about that one too.
Right. So okay, so I'll probably pepper in some stuff that I learned about the show throughout. One thing I will say is we talked. Well, let's talk about Tony Soprano, and I'll get into some of that other stuff. All right. So we're gonna start off with we'll start off with Olaf.
I didn't do it.
I I see Olaf as kind of a Tony Soprano type guy. Big family guy. Tough guy. You know. Do you see any Tony Soprano in you, Olaf?
Yeah, sort of, maybe, probably not. That's like I'm
Good
probably
answer. Good
I'm
answer.
like I'm too nice, so yeah, no.
So, what was your thoughts of Tony Soprano in this episode specifically?
Well, I'd say I've watched The Sopranos off and on. I didn't watch every episode, but I don't remember seeing this one until I just watched it, and I thought this was awesome. It really sets the tone for the whole series, and that it's like they picked the right person to play Anthony Soprano.
Mm-hmm. Yes, they
He
did
just
definitely.
he was Tony Soprano.
Yeah. What about you, Jen? Your thoughts on Mr. Soprano?
So first of all, I mean, we talked a little bit about casting, and I definitely think he was perfectly cast. But secondly, I gotta say, and this is not now because I have a very long appreciation for the show. But when I first saw the beginning episode, I was so unconvinced that they were going to make this into anything serious. That I mean, like Tony Soprano in the first episode feels so schmuckish, just like, oh my God, really? This is the guy that's the mafia boss?
Right.
It just blew me away that this was sort of the like, oh yeah, this is the guy. Like, I actually almost expected it to start being funny.
Mhm.
And I'm saying all of this like that was the very first impression I have of it. As I go back and I rewatch it, I have this like newfound. First of all, he's such a baby. Oh my god, that picture is so adorable. Because he aged so much during, all the
Yeah.
Mhm.
subsequent seasons, right? And there is this naivete that exists in the pilot that is just so wonderful and refreshing, because it harkens you back to the days before you remember all of the other stuff that happens in all the seasons, and you can really see that they were setting stuff up in this beautiful way with him. Like, he is so much the center of the Sopranos. Lots of stuff happens around it, but Tony is he's the soul of the Sopranos. And I feel like when I watch the pilot, I can totally see that. I really can. So again, I thought it was supposed to be I thought he was supposed to be like a loser, and then yeah, no, he's not.
Yeah. All right. So Renee, you know what? Just because you're a woman doesn't mean that you can't have some Tony Soprano in you. Do you have a little Tony Soprano in you? Do you?
I may here and there. If you take me to that point, I'm sure I have a little bit.
What are your thoughts on Mr. Soprano?
I didn't remember. I know I've seen the pilot before, watching it this time, but I
Mhm.
didn't remember it. I didn't remember it starting, like in the therapist's office.
Mhm.
So I guess it was good that I did see it, see the pilot again to get used to the show again, because I've watched the show, not every episode, but yeah, and I've kind of like what Jen said. He seems kind of like soft, at first, and not. I guess as the show went on, he's completely different to me. So yes,
Yeah.
I guess you got to see him grow, into his role as the boss.
Mm. Uh, oh, just before we get to Tori, I did rewatch this show. I guess it was about a couple months ago. I rewatched the whole series. It was whenever the prequel movie came out.
Mhm.
After I saw it, I said, let me rewatch the series, and I had so much fun because I hadn't seen it since they first aired, and I had so much fun rewatching it. It was a blast. I was actually kind of sad when it got to the end. I was like, oh, it was like I had so much fun rewatching it. I mean, it was just a blast. Maybe in another 10 years I'll do it again, but yeah, that was a lot of fun rewatching it. What about you, Tori? I know you got a lot of Tony Soprano in you.
Maybe, yes, a little bit.
Yeah. So, what was your take on his character in this first episode?
I want to say that the whole series is great. And for the reasons that we actually get into the mafia
Right.
world, it's so realistic. He's such a good character. He's it, it's just amazing. Like, I think if if he didn't do this series, if somebody else did it, I don't think it would be as good as it was.
No, I agree with you on that. Um, Now I do have a warning. That before we continue on with, we'll look at some more characters. Uh, and to kind of just let you know, the warning. Now I know what you may be thinking when it comes to the warning that I'm going to give you. Is I'm going to warn you about the nudity. I'm going to warn you about the violence. I'm going to warn you about the maybe the profanity. Actually, that's not where the warning is going to come from. And I'm trying to uh, I'm trying to give an example so I can tell you what this warning is. The warning is if you watch this show and let's say you watch the show and you're on an empty stomach, that might be a problem because these mofos eat all the time on this show.
Oh God, yeah.
Every other scene, these guys are eating. They're eating. They go from one meal to the next meal, and it's just constantly eating, drinking. That's probably why he gained so much weight during the show from having to eat. I mean, he was not a little guy before, and I mean, they're always at a restaurant. They're always eating cold cuts. They're always, it's just, what is the gabagool? They're always talking about. They're constantly eating on this show. So if you are hungry, don't watch The Sopranos because Renee will tell you that
I think the first 10 minutes they were at 4 places eating.
Yeah, and then
good food too. It's not
I
just
know.
like junky food. It's
Right.
like, oh yeah, I definitely want to eat that now.
and I remember they were talking about James Gandolfini because once you eat on the show, right, you got to keep doing it over and over, right? So because they got to get sometimes they got to shoot it over and over. So sometimes you'll get like full, like super full, because you got to keep eating, for the continuity. So if you notice, James Gandolfini, what a great actor. If you notice that when he eats a lot of times, he paws around with his food a lot.
Yeah.
And that's a trick that he developed so that he wouldn't have to keep eating something over and over and over. You see him, he just he mixes around with the fork. So that's his little little actor trick. So pretty funny.
That's pretty good.
All right, so let's talk about this young lady, Camilla, who is Tony Soprano's wife, who played by the great Edie Falco. All right, so Tori, what was your take on Mrs. Soprano over here?
She is such a good housewife. Like, she's the epitome of like a New Jersey, like Italian person. They're very, very proud of their Italian heritage. And they and she is so what's the word I'm looking for? Like, she's so okay with everything. Like,
I love her.
yeah, she's like okay with everything. Like, like, and you wouldn't think by looking at her that she would be like that. Like,
Right.
so yeah, that's what I think about her. She's a great actress too. She was in another thing.
She was in Nurse Jackie,
yeah.
And that was afterwards. But before that, she was on the TV show Oz.
Oh
She
yeah.
left
Oh, that's
Oz.
right.
Oh,
Yeah.
Oz.
I forgot about that.
Yeah, she left Oz to do The Sopranos.
Oh, that's another one we should definitely do as a pilot.
Oh
Right.
yeah.
Oh yeah.
Love that show.
That's a great show.
Great show. Great show. So, Renee, what was your thoughts on Mrs. Soprano over here?
She's housewife, but she's I like her as a mom also because she doesn't take any crap from her kids. So and especially because they're teenagers, they're older. I think they're both teenagers then. But they're she doesn't take how teenagers can try you all the time. She doesn't. That doesn't matter. So I like her character as the mom.
But of course, me and you, we never did that with our parents.
Of course not.
Never. Now, this scene right here was hilarious, where she comes out with the AK-47.
Oh my God!
About to take her daughter out.
Yeah, and Meadow's like, "Oh, I'm just checking the window, make sure it was all right."
Oh my God!
Do we have any putty?
That is so funny.
So funny. All right, Jen, what is your take on Carmela?
Okay, so I'm gonna tell you just a really quick anecdote.
Mm-hmm.
So forever and a day, I thought that I was Italian. And then, of course, thanks to 23andMe for ruining my life. No, I'm just joking. It didn't really ruin my life, but it confirmed something that I had thought all along, right? And so actually, I'm not Italian at all. I mean, I have like a tiny bit of Italian in me. But what was funny about that was I didn't know that for ever and ever and ever. And when I first started watching The Sopranos, I swear to God, I felt exactly like her. I mean, maybe not married to Tony Soprano, but I had that same exact feeling like this is the way that you raise your kids. This is the suburban mom kind of feeling. And I loved that. I can remember looking around their house and thinking, what can I do to make my house look like that? That
Mhm.
see that to me is like that's when you know that you've made it, when you feel like you want to emulate the characters that you're watching, man, then they definitely did a good job. And I mean, just look at her, right? She's always so. One of the things that I love about her is even in the pilot is she always looks so put together. She
Yeah.
Yeah,
always
yep.
looks like, even if she's like just out of doing something crazy, she always looks like she's one step away from being just absolutely perfect.
Yeah.
I truly, truly loved that.
Yeah. Yeah. No, she's pretty awesome. Olaf.
She would be the kind of mom that you definitely don't want to piss off.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Because, you know, she just, you know, she doesn't take any crap from them. You know, it's like she's not going to put up with it, like going, yep, nope, you're done. That's it. Get out. And, you know, and then, you know, coming out with a, it's like walking out with an AK because she heard a noise outside. What are you doing up there? Okay. Yeah. But, and like Jen said, she's always, it's like when you see her, she's always, uh, is always put together. She's always the whatever she's wearing is not, you know, it's just, you know, just a good look. I mean, it's always, it's like she's the perfect soccer mom almost, and would, you know, run you over with the van if you didn't like it, you know. So
Yeah. I could see Tori in the same situation, but not with the AK, but with the katana.
Ah, also, also,
I
and
would be a great, I would be a great mafia boss's wife. I'll tell you that. I would, I would fit in. I would go the distance to fit in with these people.
Yeah.
so Tori, are you auditioning for the role of, instead of like a sugar daddy, a mafia daddy?
Yeah, they
Oh,
should
okay.
have. Where's the app for that?
Yeah, where's the ad for that? You know, what one other thing about her in particular is is also, I feel like she is the right mom to have for kids who are being brought up in the mafia,
Yes.
because
Yeah,
right. And but I'm so glad I'm not the only one that saw that, because I feel like if Meadow hadn't had her as a mom, oh my god, I can't even imagine in the series what would have happened to her.
yeah.
right,
All right. So,
like,
oh, go ahead.
well,
Olaf.
that's why like I said, in other words, that's well, she was the mom. Yeah, I don't want to get. I don't care if Dad gets mad at me, but if Mom gets mad at me,
Right.
nope. I'm like I'm
Yup.
packing bags and leaving. You know.
Yep.
Now, Jen, we got to talk about Dr. Melfi. Now, Dr. Melfi, Lorraine Bracco, they actually wanted her to play Carmela, and
Oh wow.
yeah, and she said, "I've already done that. I did Goodfellas," and she liked the Dr. Melfi character better. So they really wanted her to play Carmela, but she kind of they wanted her a part of the project, because remember at that time she was the biggest actor of the group. Like mostly everybody else really hadn't done much. So so she was the kind of the draw, and but I'm so glad though that she was right, because she played Karen Hill in Goodfellas, so I thought this was a perfect role for her. So What about you, Jen? What did you like, Dr. Melfi?
Yes, and okay, and not to get too meta again, but one of the things that I love about this pilot episode is there is this patient doctor confidentiality thing that Tony talks about, and that she definitely, like, gets right away. And it reminds us from the very beginning that this is a secret world. And so when you frame it in this, the doctor and patient kind of confidentiality, it's like, okay, the only way that we can get to all these secrets is by hearing them this way. And I have to say that I thought that that was kind of a brilliant plot device so that we get to see so much of Tony that we never would have seen before. Like, okay, so first of all, what kind of psychosis does a crime boss have? That's one.
Mhm.
But two, how does a doctor or anybody handle understanding that information? And I have to say, she holds this off so well. Not only is she professional, but she's also so no nonsense. Like,
Yeah.
she
Yeah.
doesn't take his crap. And that also, can you imagine how scary that might be? I mean,
Yeah.
I can't. It's got to be really. But she's just so even and so steady. So just from the very get-go, I feel like she was just rock solid in this role.
Mhm. And one of the issues too the show had was there was a very famous movie that came out not maybe a year earlier or less called Analyze This, which was
Oh
a
yeah, I
similar.
remember that.
It was a similar theme where it was a mafia boss played by Robert De Niro going to see a therapist played by Billy Crystal, and it was a very good movie, and it was a hit. It was just one of those things where they had a similar idea around the same time, because actually this could have been made way before Analyze This, so it was just one of those things. And so there were some thoughts by, well, it was kind of done, but I'm glad that didn't keep this from happening.
No, and also, you know what? Her approach to everything is so different from the Analyze This approach,
Oh yeah.
because you can really see that she, not only does she understand that there's something much bigger going on here, but she also has this kind of odd insider feel to everything. Like we know that we're going down this rabbit hole, and and it's like we trust her to be the guide almost more than Tony, which is, I found that really surprising. Like, I really looked forward in this entire series to his meetings with her, because even in the pilot they are so revealing, that says a lot for a show that deals with so much other stuff that is so incredibly visceral and graphic, and yet these sessions that are so intimate, I feel like we get more out of them than we get almost any place else, right? Does that make sense?
Oh, perfect sense.
Hmm.
Perfect sense. And next week we're going to be covering Battlestar Galactica,
Yes.
and her ex-husband was the star of the show, Edward James Olmos. So
Oh, okay.
Oh,
yeah, so see, we get these connections there. You know what I'm saying?
It's
Ooh,
the six
and he's in
degrees
the
from Kevin
Mayans.
Bacon stuff.
Yes, yes, yes. So Renee, Dr. Melfi. First of all, you know what? Let's ask this question.
Okay.
I don't know if you've ever had therapy. You don't have to say it. Do you think she's a good therapist based on what you've seen in this pilot?
I think so, yeah. Especially because the way he's speaking, he's not. But she says, "Well, what do you do?" He's speaking in code. He won't, it doesn't say what he doesn't say what he does. But
Waste
she
management.
knows. Yeah. But as soon as he starts telling something that happened, she stops him. Well, let me tell you, if you tell me the wrong thing, I'm gonna have to, I'll call the police or whatever. So I think she's quick and I think she's good at helping him deal with what he's going through, and really, really start to deal with what he's going through. And she She's a great listener, I think. And then and she helps him figure out really what's going on in his own world, like himself. So yeah, I like their interactions with each other.
You know what's funny is and Jen just kind of said it a little bit, is when I meet someone who is legitimately in waste management, I always kind of chuckle. I was like, you're in the mob.
Like
You
really?
We know what you do.
Oh, right.
We know what you really do.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, we
It's
know
like,
what you
I've got this little trash problem. Maybe you can help me
Right.
take care of this.
yeah.
Since you're in waste management.
Right. I bet your trash sleeps with the fishes, right?
How eco-friendly are you really? That's the question.
All right.
Yeah.
What about you, Olaf? Dr. Melfi. You know it's so I said Melfi. Well, you know what?
Is that a Freudian slip?
Yeah, what's
That's
that?
kind of a Freudian
Yeah.
slip, right?
You know what? She is kind of Dr. Melfi.
Was that on the
accident? She had a kid on the show, so yeah, she would be that. But Dr. Melfi,
It's like Dr. Melfi. It's like, well, as being her playing a therapist, she does a good job. And it's like it's like when he first starts out, and he starts to talk about this guy that he was going to go talk to, and we had coffee, but
yeah.
she's like, okay, if let's say a murder was going to happen or somebody was going to get hurt, I have to call the authorities. And I like how she slipped in that technically. Technically, I'd have to. Technically.
Right.
Like, you're sitting there talking to a mob boss, and it's like, if he says that he's gonna murder somebody, you got to tell on him. Yeah, no.
No.
Technically, I should have. Technically, I should tell, but yeah,
Right.
That's what I mean by she's so rock steady. Like,
Oh yeah.
like just the way she delivers her lines is like, oh my god, I
Right.
can't imagine.
Right. It's like, well, exactly when she started the end of like, okay, let's get the ethical things out of the way first. When he starts talking about that, getting the coffee, and
Right.
We had coffee. She's like, yeah, I can see this is going to go somewhere bad quick. Let's shut this down before it gets anywhere.
That's so funny.
So I think she did a really good job.
Yeah.
And there's another thing too I got to mention. This great actor, Steven Van Zandt, who
oh yeah, he's great.
Now this was his first acting role.
Oh wow.
And I don't know if you guys know that this was not why he's famous or why he was initially famous. He was the lead guitarist, still is actually, for the Bruce Springsteen E Street Band. And he was his main dude. He's a New Jersey legend as a great guitarist and singer in his own right. And he deserves a lot of credit for a lot of things. I guess I'll get to in a minute. But David Chase, being from New Jersey as well, idolized Steven Van Zandt. Because Bruce Springsteen is like a god in New Jersey. And his initial thoughts was to Steven Van Zandt to be Tony Soprano.
Oh.
He actually wanted Steven Van Zandt as Tony Soprano. And because it was going to be more comedic, the show was going to be more comedy. And he realized that, he needed someone who was had that more acting chops already. So that's why, but then he made up his own character. He's the only person on that show that made their own character. His character was not initially in it.
Wow.
He came up with his own character, his own backstory, his own name for his character. And so his Silvio is his creation. So and he deserves a lot of credit for that. And also, just as a side note about him as a person, he was um, during the apartheid, he led a group of musicians to boycott performing in South Africa because of apartheid, which really helped in turning the tides with getting rid of apartheid.
Wow.
So
Yeah.
he's a very interesting person. I actually read his book that he just put out about a year ago. It's awesome. His life is amazing, and he's went on to have a show called Lilyhammer, where he plays a mafia guy, very similar to his character. And he's done a lot of great stuff with music and stuff too. But I just wanted to throw that out. And he's a fantastic character on this show. And his wife played his wife on the show. So
Oh, really?
yeah, that was his actual wife on the show, was his actual wife. So
Wow,
which
that's
is pretty
cool.
cool. So but everybody else, those were characters that were written, and he actually came up with his own character and the whole thing. So let's
That's
talk
amazing.
about the show. Uh, this pilot has so many great moments in it, and one thing I like about the pilot, just talking about the whole mafia part of it, is you get to see that the stress. Like, you understand why he's so stressed out, because he has, first of all, his family is probably more stressful than the actual people trying to kill him.
Than his job.
Like that, that is eating at him more than anything. And then you have what he has to go through and meeting, and then his uncle, the great his uncle, who's fantastic, Uncle Junior.
Uncle Junior.
Oh, yeah.
He has some of the greatest lines in TV history. He is
Yes.
so funny, so funny. And so Uncle Junior and his mama. I mean, like, I was stressed out watching it for him.
Yeah.
But one thing they do really well in this pilot, and I really want to go to Eugen first, is the metaphor with the ducks. I thought that is
Oh my
so
god, I
brilliant.
love that.
And Falco.
Yes.
So brilliant. Just speak on it from your point of view about the ducks and the significance and whatnot. I just think that's so brilliant.
Well, okay. So first thing I'm gonna say is the interaction between him, the ducks, and the kids, because that's the first piece that always kind of jumps out at me. Right, the kids are so uninterested
Right.
in in basically anything that he has to offer. But the second thing is there. This is where I realized that the show is actually going to be more serious, right? Because the the first the this idea that Tony Soprano is more than what we see on the surface, and that his family is so important to him that he jumps into the pool to feed the ducks, right? That it's a level of commitment that is so much more than I think you could even sort of come away with. And while anybody else would have basically said, okay, everybody get out of here, that's my pool and whatever. Tony is like, they're ducks. This is it's like these are my peeps. This is how important it is. And the idea about when the ducks actually fly away, in Tony's world is, he's losing his family. He's losing the things that are the most important to him, and nothing that he does, including feeding them, giving them attention, trying to get other people interested in them, keep that from happening. So it's a real representative kind of loss.
Right. No, yeah, I think that the whole metaphor with the ducks is brilliant, and it's a great through line for this episode. It's really brilliant way, and the show did this quite a bit with a lot of different things. were these wonderful metaphors and through lines that they would have in certain episodes. It was very, very well written. Um, and it is like a childlike quality of him when he's looking at the ducks. You know,
Absolutely.
yeah,
Well,
it's pretty cool.
they helped give
What's
him
even
peace.
funnier?
Yeah.
What's even funnier is that the we see this shot at some point of everybody looking at him through the window at the docks,
Hmm.
right? So I mean, like it's like he is so disconnected from his family that even his family is seeing them through the window of their own lives. It's actually just absolutely perfectly done. And you're right, it sets the whole tone for the pilot and this very first season. It just says everything.
Yeah, I think yeah, it's really good. Um, and so that's amazing part of the first episode. Also, I think Michael Imperioli, Christopher, who great character,
I love him.
fantastic actor.
Mm.
Yeah.
That guy is super talented person. Just period. Um, he's a great. He actually went on to become one of the writers of the show.
Oh
He
wow, I
wrote
didn't know
some.
that.
Yeah, he wrote some of the really good episodes. I think he started in season 3 or something. Uh, and he's a fantastic, right? Because because at first I remember one of the producers said, "Oh boy, when one of the actors say they have an idea for an episode, you start going, but it actually turned out to be very good, and he wrote some really good episodes. But Christopher, one thing I love about the Christopher Tony relationship is, you know, Tony has a son, right? Anthony Jr., right?
Hmm.
Right.
But in a lot of ways, Christopher is really truly his son, you know,
Yeah. Yeah.
and
Well, don't you think that he's like especially in the first episode? Don't you feel like we get the feeling that like he's the son that Tony wants,
right,
not
Right.
Anthony? Because Anthony is just not what Tony wants. He keeps
Yeah.
right,
trying,
That's just like
but
my dad. That's just like my dad. My dad really wanted me to be like a popular cheerleader, And I always was like, I'm not that person because I was into metal and all that stuff. So I had big pants and I had all these little jewelry shit and he Doc Martens, and he hated that, and so I can understand that with the character. Like I get it.
wait
Like
a minute, I see
Yes.
you as
And
a cheerleader. I see you as a cheerleader type, Tori.
no.
He's like, I
I was
know.
gonna say, like, with that scene, like for me, it seemed like, if the parents are split up, like this is his son. The parents are split up, and he's spending time with his son. And then he's like, "Well, mom said because I wasn't feeling good, mom said I should stay home." Like this was his first job, and I'm excited to work, but this is not that type of job. So I just
Yeah.
yeah.
love their It was just that part was funny to me. Like I still do what my mom says, but the type of job that he needs permission to stay home or not. So I just thought that was funny.
Yeah. No, I thought, yeah, I think so too.
You can,
And
you really get the idea that Tony thinks that Tony Jr. Anthony Jr. is like is weak. You really get that
Yeah.
sort of, and you
Mhm.
feel like the one the kid, so to speak, that Tony feels like, oh yeah, this is you're my real kind of kid. uh, there's
Right.
something about that strength which is just like, man, you're not going to get that out of them. You're just not.
Yeah.
And you can feel
Right.
from the very beginning episode that this is going to be a major problem, right?
yeah, yeah.
Well, and
Uh,
like I said, you can tell that Tony wants Christopher to be his son. He'd prefer to have him, because he's bragging about him all the time. Like he was talking about, he's whatever his age is, and he just paid $60,000 for a brand new Lexus. When that's the car, that happened to be the car that they were driving at the time that
Eddie messed up.
Yeah.
$3,000. It's $3,000 for that.
That's so
But
funny.
it's interesting too about Christopher, because the story, I'm trying to remember if it's in the pilot, but the backstory is that Christopher's father was his mentor, and he died. He had an untimely death when he was younger, and he always promised that he would be a mentor to his son. So he's kind of paying it, back. So he looked up to his father, Dicky Moltisanti, which the prequel movie centers around Christopher's father. So and we won't get into what that movie. But I say this though, it's so funny. There's this mafia guy, this real ex-mafia guy named Michael Francis. And I don't know if you guys heard of him. He's an ex-mafia boss. Now he's a YouTuber.
Wow.
Don't you just love it, right? It's like,
That's a small jump.
right. And so he does movie reviews of mafia movies and TV shows. And he tells you how authentic it is. Let me find if I could pull up so I could give you some visual reference. There's only reason why I'm bringing this up.
That's not how you do it. Just hold his head and then smack him with this.
Oh, Michael Francis. Here he is.
Forget about it.
Yeah, okay, so he's let me put it over here. So I can at least show you what this guy looks like. So if you see him, you'll keep running. No, I mean okay, this is a guy, Michael Francis, real mafia guy who's now a YouTuber. And he wrote that book right there, Mafia Democracy. And that's his wine, And so he's reviewing the movie, the prequel movie for The Sopranos. And it's the most intentionally funny review of all time. Because he's like serious. He's like, this movie made mafia people look degenerate. And like I'm sitting there like, wait a minute. I'm listening to this. Like, he's like, this made mafia people look bad. He said it made people. But I'm sitting there like, how about them murdering people makes them look bad?
Yeah.
And then he goes, this is so funny. I showed it to Renee. He goes, he says, yeah, in this movie, he's like pointing out scenes. He's like, in this movie, he's smacking around his wife. Mafia guys don't do that. Then he goes, well, I mean, I've seen a couple, but
Oh no.
So in the US we have the Sopranos, right?
Uh-huh.
In Italy, they have a show called Gomorrah.
Uh-huh.
And it is, I don't know if you guys have ever seen it. It's it's foreign, so it's a little bit difficult if you're not willing to read subtitles or if you don't speak Italian. But it's excellent. Absolutely.
He's reviewed it, by the way.
Excellent. Oh, okay. Well, the biggest difference between Gomorrah and The Sopranos is the number of deaths per episode. And I do mean that seriously. Like in Gomorrah, there are, I don't know, 15 deaths a week. And in The Sopranos, it's like, you build up and you build up, and there might be 2 or 3 in one episode, but it's like a big deal. Right. And what that's actually, I feel like I liked that about The Sopranos, because even though a lot of people died in The Sopranos, and you can feel that in the pilot season, they build up to it, right? I mean, you're really getting kind of to know people before they get offed, and I really did like that. I loved it a lot.
Right. All right. There's a couple of characters we have to talk about, and that's definitely Uncle Junior. Uncle Junior, who actually is a opera singer.
Oh wow.
I mean, he's acted over, as well, but he's known mostly for his singing. He's a fantastic singer. He actually sings at one point or a couple of times on the show. He's fantastic, and he's still around. He's in his 90s, I believe. He's still, and looks great too, by the way.
Wow.
And but he's just fantastic. He is, like I said, he has some of the greatest lines. And then I think the one line he says to Tony is, "You may be the boss in New Jersey, but you ain't the boss of me."
That's funny.
I just love this guy, man. He's such a great character. And um, well, I don't want to get to the non-pilot, but just it's really sad how his character, ends up on the show. But fantastic character, Uncle Junior, and he's great in this, and uh, just remarkable. But we're running out of time, so we have to. I didn't forget. In case you guys are wondering, how can I not the main lady right there?
There you go.
Played by the
Oh my
great
God.
Nancy Marchand, who is just amazing. Every time she's on the screen, she is remarkable. She's funny as heck, and she's just a handful and a half. And we'll start off with you, Jen. Just your thoughts of her.
So, I'm actually going to leave it to Tori and Renee and Olaf to provide most of the backstory here. But I got to say that this is one of my most favorite characters for so many reasons.
Mhm.
One, she is so authentically exactly who she is. Like, you know how sometimes you see a character on screen and you're like, oh, yeah, okay, they're kind of this way. Every time she nails this, she nails being this character every single time. Like, there is nothing that she does, every movement, every motion is so perfect. I really I feel like in this particular case, other than Tony Soprano, this is one of the most perfect casting choices that the Sopranos made altogether. And also it makes it really difficult to not like what you see on screen despite the fact that it's terrible.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, I hate it, but I super love it. Like, I look forward to seeing it every single time.
And she was like dying the whole time.
Right.
'Cause
Right.
Yeah, that was the other thing.
like
Yes.
legit, like she died after the second season. Uh, Nancy Marchand did, but she was remarkable. She wanted to work. Apparently, they knew after the first season that she wasn't going to have much be on the planet much longer. So they were going to kill her off at the end of the first season. And what happened was she wanted to keep working until she couldn't no more. So they allowed her to stay on as long as she could, because she didn't want to just go, off somewhere and just, die. So that's why she was even in the second season, was because she just wanted to keep working.
That's so
So
crazy.
yeah.
No.
Yeah. So what about you, Renee? What is your take on Mama Soprano?
I like her character. I think she's funny. She's stern. She whatever she's gonna say what she feels, what she thinks, no matter what. And I like when she's supposed to go to the party, but I can't remember why. But she wants to make him feel bad. He's already going through all this stress and stuff, and she's not helping.
Not at
And
all.
then so he gets frustrated with her like so quick. But it's just like she doesn't care. She's gonna be her, and he just has to deal with it. But you
I
Yeah.
can
love her
tell
guilt.
he love. Yeah, I know. Yeah, you can tell that he loves her. So he's gonna deal with it. He's just like okay, but he'll leave when he needs to. But he'll still make sure he'll still come to take care of her. So.
Right.
I love the dynamic between the two of them because you can feel like years and years and years of her just being of heaping guilt on him, and it works. I mean, it's not just that,
Yeah.
oh, I'm going to be like woke about this and I'm going to be like, yeah, your guilt doesn't affect me at all.
Right.
No, it absolutely turns him into a 5-year-old.
Yes. Yes. That's part of the reason why he's in
He's in
therapy.
therapy. Yeah.
Yeah. He picks up his marbles
Probably
and
a
goes
big
home.
part.
Yeah.
It's like, of course, I like it. With her, like soon as he walks in the door, did you lock the door? Did you do this? Yeah, yes. He didn't lock the door, and he turned around, went back, and locked it. Okay. And well, I don't drive, or I don't do this, and I don't do that. He, puts out that CD player that he brought her, and she's like,
Oh my
leave me alone, let me alone, stop it. He tries to get her to dance, and because right before he was trying to get her to dance, she said something about, I forget what. Do you know he calls his mother every day? Again, it was like piling the guilt on. And then, like, the last thing is, and then she was talking about, Tony was saying, hey, well, when Pop died, you said you were going to go travel and do this and do that, and you haven't done none of that. You need to get out and go do something. And she's like, when he was such a saint. No, he was a monster too. The last thing she says to him when he walks out the door, that's like, she didn't go to the party because she doesn't drive when it's going to rain. If she thinks it's going to rain, she won't drive. And he's like, do it. He said, you're still good. You need to get out there and drive. But walks out the door, and he said, and last thing she says to him as she's walking out is like, going, daughters treat their mothers better than sons do. Throw some more guilt on top of him. Yeah, there we go.
I love it, man.
You know what's also funny about this relationship? The thing that's really funny is that nobody brings Tony lower than his mom. And it's like Tony does not take crap from anybody ever, anytime. Nobody brings Tony low, or you suffer like severe consequences, right? But his mom has this way of, with like one sentence, just absolutely cutting him all the way down. And it's weird because in a way it sort of gives us this empathy toward Tony Soprano that I don't know if we would have had otherwise. It just like it really feels like, oh my God, this poor guy was just tortured as a kid. Ugh.
Yeah. One of the things that kind of the catalyst for all of this is the fact that he's having these panic attacks.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously we've gone through his life. I mean, he has stress on all different angles. Even when he goes home, that's supposed to be the place where there's no stress and there's stress. And so, of course, eventually he's not in great health. He eats. He doesn't eat very well. He eats well, but you know what I'm saying. I don't think he eats very healthy, I should say.
Lasagna is not healthy.
No, not at all. It's great. It tastes great, but it's not.
I don't know. I was taught that lasagna was part of the 4 major food groups. So
all in one dish, though.
All in one dish, right? Well, and also let's be honest. Okay, I don't know if it's the lasagna. I think it's the amount of wine that they drink with the lasagna. That's actually the problem.
They have to be wasted by the time they leave. They have to be.
See, here we are talking about the Sopranos pilot, and we're still talking about food. I mean, this is like this is a serious problem.
We're all hungry. That's the problem.
Yeah, well, like I said, don't watch that show on an empty stomach. There's so much more to talk about with the show. Obviously, the original Vesuvio, restaurant, them blowing it up. We could talk about that. We could talk about so much more. But it's just, I have to say, this show is remarkable. It's a fantastic show. If you guys haven't seen it out there, make sure you check it out. It's definitely good. But I will tell you a story before we say goodbye. I think Renee's probably heard this story before. So this is actually not about the pilot. It's about the finale, right? So I was hanging out with a friend of mine some months ago, and they were in town, and we were going to this restaurant. So I'm driving, and there was only one parking spot. that was available because it was like on a regular street, right? A side street, and there was like a pile of leaves there. So I was saying to them, you know what? I can't. I'm not going to park there because there's a pile of leaves. I'll park, a little bit up. And they looked at me and they were like, why? Why can't you park on a pile of leaves? And I said, your car will catch on fire. It could possibly catch on fire. And they were like, what? Like, that sounds crazy. And I said, you never watched The Sopranos? And they was like, no, like in the finale, AJ was making out with his girlfriend and the car catches on fire and they run out of the car and the car basically blows up. And they were like, what? And then I showed him the clip on YouTube and he was still like, that's a TV show.
I've seen it happen in person. It's real. I would never park on leave.
So then I bet them 50 cents. And I said, Google it. I said, I'll let you Google it. So the person Googles it and it says, essentially that it's true. And then it says, but there's some line about the leaves being flammable. And he said, oh, but it says the leaves has to be flammable. I'm like,
if they're dry, they're flammable.
Right.
You mean? Oh, you mean leaves that are just happen to be doused in gasoline?
That happens all the time.
Right.
But he didn't believe me that because I never heard that until The Sopranos. Until that episode of The Sopranos where I was like, is that a real thing? I didn't know.
Oh, yeah.
I've seen it. I've seen it happen.
I tell you though, it shows you how powerful TV shows and movies can be. Because after that, I never parked on no leaves.
Right.
Because I was sitting there like, yeah.
So
I mean that can actually happen. It's like there are different times I've pulled my van into the yard to unload something in the front door, and I go back out and move the van. There's a brown spot underneath where the engine was at in the grass. Like, oops. Just cook the grass.
Can we just all each say at least one line that we absolutely love from The Sopranos? I know this is just pilot season, but I gotta say my favorite line in The Sopranos is when Tony Soprano is sitting with the doctor, and he says, "They say every day is a gift, but does it have to be a pair of socks?" And I just freaking love that line so much because one, man, I feel that, but two, it is just so perfectly Tony Soprano. Like, man, I mean, okay, yeah, I'll begrudgingly see the bright side of something, but God, does it have to be this? I just love it. Just love it.
Oh man, that's a great one. Let's see. Not just from the pilot. You're talking about from the show altogether?
Yeah, just from the show altogether, because I feel like there's so many awesome lines. Like, didn't he say once something about and this feels so Tony Soprano too, something about hey, in the end, your friends are gonna let you down. And I feel like he actually said that to AJ.
Right.
Didn't he? I think he said it to AJ.
I think so.
And it was like
right.
that was such a moment. Like, what, man, this guy, he doesn't trust anybody. He doesn't feel that sense of walk the line with anybody. That's sad. That was so sad.
One of my favorite lines is oh, poor baby, what do you want, a Whitman sampler?
Well, yes, actually, if your hands are
women's sampler are pretty good. I'll take one of those.
Oh man, when I watched it, the rewatch, and I saw that when they said that when he said that, I died laughing.
I don't know about the whole all the different seasons, but it's like out of the pilot. I don't know. I think probably the one line that I liked a lot was when Tony's mom was talking about, I don't want to go to that nursing home. All this is a bunch of old women sitting around chairs, just in the wheelchairs, just babbling like idiots. I like that one.
Yeah, that's funny.
Isn't that when Tony told her that it was like a retirement community?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a retirement community. Oh my God, no, it's not.
No, it's not. Not even close.
Oh God, that was crazy.
Yeah. Or Uncle Junior says, he goes, the federal marshals are so far up my ass I can taste Brill cream.
Ooh.
You know what's funny? Okay, you know what's funny about that? Only people over a certain age would actually even get
Would
that.
get
Do you
it.
even know what Brill cream is? That to
Sadly
me is like
enough.
that's such a perfect line for him to say.
Sadly
Yeah.
enough, I get
No, I have no idea what that. I have no idea what that means. I don't know what drill cream is. No idea. I'm not old enough to know what that is.
sadly enough, I get it. Yeah, that is pretty bad when you get to a certain
When
age
you
and
get
you're
it.
Well, it's like to talk about that with a certain age. That's like the old thing. The other thing is, with when it's like you reach a certain age and the check engine light just comes on.
Mm,
yeah.
yes.
Oh man.
I've not reached that age yet, though.
All right. So, Tori, how can we get you in social media and all that good stuff?
Okay, well, you can get me on this show every Tuesday or Wednesday. Wednesday. So that changed. I had to remember. Okay, and then you can get me on my show on Friday nights on my Facebook. I do it live, and we also record it to YouTube. So I check out my YouTube channel. That's the Infectious Geek Official, and then I also am on a show called Movie Potluck, and we review movies and we pair them with food, and it's great.
All right. And let's go with you, Jen. How can we get you in social media and all that good stuff?
Well, you can find me at the aforementioned podcast, which is the Movie Potluck, and it is a ton of fun. And in fact, this week I think we're doing classic literature adaptations. So if you're one of those people that loves that kind of stuff, hey, join us, and I promise it's going to be fun. I even made food for this episode, so it's going to be really cool.
Wow, nice.
Yeah,
right.
I'm super excited. And you can also find me at my blog, moviesandmeals.com.
All right. And Renee, how can we get you in social media and all that good stuff?
Well, here, of course, now every Wednesday. And then social media, RDC Art by Design, or my Pencil Writes.
All right. Did anyone ever tell you have a beautiful smile?
Oh.
No, never. You're the
Well,
first.
let me be the first.
Okay, Renee, ask him, what do you want?
Right.
What do you want?
Let me hold $50. Olaf, how can we get you in social media and all that good stuff?
Well, on Wednesday nights now on here, of course, but you can follow me on Facebook, but just don't follow too close because I do get nervous and I do have an itchy trigger.
I did it too fast. My bad. I did it too fast. My trigger finger got real itchy, so
You were too close.
See, See now, Kinte, I just don't understand why you thought I would be like the Tony Soprano type. I don't get it.
Maybe, you know what? Maybe I should have had a Tommy gun for tonight.
Yes.
You could
And
give me.
Kinte, what about you?
Oh, thank you. You can give me at Kinte F on Twitter, Kinte Ferguson on Instagram. Of course, the website is theindyradio.com. That's the INDY radio.com. I don't need. Do I need to spell the THEINDY?
Sure. Never know.
Next week.
Wait, how do you spell .com?
EOT.
EOT. you go.
Love you guys.
Next week we will be reviewing Battlestar Galactica.
Yay!
Which, if you guys are not familiar, it's a terrific show. No, we're talking about the newer one, not the 1960s one. But you know what I might do? I might watch
not
the pilot.
Dirk. What was his name?
Right.
Dirk something?
Dirk Benedict, yeah.
Yeah, Benedict. There we go.
Dirk Diggler. I might watch, I might watch the old ones too, just to see the pilot, see if there's any connection there. I mean, I'm just doing that. If you guys want to do it, knock yourself out. But with that said, we'll see you next time, and have a great rest of your week, and God bless you.
Thanks